Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The question at hand today is, would you survive the Civil War? On my part, I'm not so sure. I'd probably spend more time worried about the cannons, the bullets, and not being thinking about what really killed most of the soldiers. 3 million soldiers go in the Civil War, 750,000 never go home. Certainly, there are going to be 250,000 that are killed by cannons and rifles and swords, but twice that many are going to die in camp and on the march. The most fearsome thing of the war, the canteen. No, they're not hitting each other with the canteen. It's what's in the canteen, water. This is a period before germ theory. It's not till the year after the Civil War, a guy named Lister and Pasteur come up with germ theory. They don't know anything about it. So they're basically getting water anywhere they can find it. Number one killer of the Civil War is amoebic and bacterial dysentery, what they called around here as a case of the Virginia quick step. Now also, your diet's not helping you. Eating a lot of things like dried beans, salted pork, also very hard crackers. I'm not seeing a lot of fresh fruit and vegetable here. So you're not getting the vitamins. Oh boy, that's bad for your immune system going down. There were no vaccinations. A lot of these soldiers hadn't had childhood diseases yet. It's the camps that are the true danger during the Civil War. 2/3 of those soldiers, 500,000, dying there. Now, if you happen to be wounded upon the battlefield, there's a major danger here. This bullet, it was designed by a Frenchman named Minié. It is the round used in the rifle musket by both sides in the Civil War. It is .58 caliber, very large. It is soft lead, and it's actually for a bullet is moving slowly, which means if this hits a bone of a human being, it mashes flat like that, and the bone shatters. That's why they're having 60,000 amputations in the Civil War from this deadly round. Now, if you happen to be wounded, you could be one of the lucky ones and have just a flesh wound, wherein they would come and find your opening. Take this little item here called a bullet probe. It has enamel at the end, and when you put it in the wound, tap it. And if it comes back with a little gray dot, you'll know that is in fact the bullet. You can just use then your bullet forceps, go right on in, and remove that bullet. Also, you might probe around in there to make sure there was no damage to the bone. The main probe they're using is the finger. Of course, nothing is being sanitized. Everything is just out in the open. In fact, a surgeon often might want to keep his thing clean just because he likes it that way. Now, if there were bone fragments found in that wound, then I'm afraid the next steps come about, the one leading to a capital operation of amputation. Now, two things aren't going to happen that a lot of people think will. One is there's going to be a great reduction in the flow of blood. You're going to be using a tourniquet, which wraps around above where the wound occurred. Now, the doctors in the Civil War, 75% of all the operations they do are to the arms and legs. Because basically, if you're hit in the chest or abdomen, there's not much they can do for you. They don't even understand how all that works. And also, anytime they open the human body cavity, infection sets in, they would lose the patient. If you're wounded in the chest, they're probably just going to give you a large amount of opium, painkiller, and set you aside. They're going to try to only have operations on those they can actually save, which would be somebody with an arm wound where the bone has been shattered. You'd attach this tourniquet, tighten it down so there's no blood flowing, so it's not going to be these sort of things, very huge amounts of blood flow. Also, it's going to be quiet. First war, really, you're going to be having the use of chloroform. Coming out in the 1840s, going to be placed over the soldier's nose and mouth, a few drops of the chloroform, and they will be unconscious during the whole thing. The whole line about biting the bullet, that's from earlier eras when they did not have the anesthesia. Now, once your soldier is completely asleep, You're going to be wanting to take the area just above where the wound occurred, where the bone has been fractured. Going to be using your large incision knife here, the Caitlin knife, cutting all the way around in a circle, removing all the skin down into the muscle. Then using your scalpel, cutting through the muscle and the ligaments and tendons, getting down to the bone itself. Now, this is the one piece of operating equipment that terrified soldiers more than anything. The capital saw. Now, while we're doing this operation, you good people here, you might be portraying the soldiers who are next in line. You're wounded watching all this. That does not do your heart rate, breathing a lot of good here. So this is the terrifying thing. And believe it or not, this whole operation would take only 3 to 7 minutes. I'd have 2 assistants holding down, sawing through the bones. Now, any good surgeon wants to make sure there's no rough edges, using a file to make sure that bone is smooth on the ends, because hopefully the soldier is going to be fixed with a prosthetic, an artificial arm or leg. There are 133 patents of this. Just